Welcome, welcome, all you entertainment enthusiasts. I've decided to start a segment, whatever you want to call it, because it's quarantine and I'm bored and I kind of always wanted to and just never did. So what I'm going to do for you is something I call story time with a sketch, where I'm going to tell a story and then do a sketch for you while I do this. So let's get started and see how it goes. Today I'm going to be telling you about a guy named Michael Malloy. He was born in Ireland in 1873, and he immigrated over to the USA, to the Bronx, and was like a firefighter for a while before he was just like a homeless drunk. So, you know, this is like, it's like the 1920s, 1930s, and he just spent his time going to speakeasies, drinking half his weight in booze, and, you know, passing out, doing it again the next day. So anyway, so there's this dude, Tony Marino. He was a speakeasy owner, and Malloy drank at his bar or speakeasy, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, wasn't really paying his tab because he's a bum. He's homeless. He doesn't really have any money. So Marino's sitting there one night. He's got like 4 of his friends around him. He's got his buddy Joe Murphy, Frank Pasqua, Daniel Kreisberg, and Hershey Green. And they're all sitting there watching Malloy drink. And Marino has an idea. He's like, you know what? You know, times are hard. Speakeasy's not doing so well. Let's kill off this drunk guy. He's got no family, no friends. No one's gonna miss him. Let's like take out an insurance policy and off him. Make some good money. So they get Malloy liquored up, which isn't hard. And they bring over some insurance forms for him to sign. And they're like, hey, you know, sign these petitions there so Marino can run for office. And Malloy's like, all right, cool, great. So he signs the petitions, which are really, you know, insurance policies, for about $3,500 taken out for him. And I know you're thinking like $3,500, split between 5 people, that's like nothing. And it was $3,500 back then. Today it'd be like 65 grand, which split between 5 people is still like nothing. But you know, they were seedy characters, and I guess they just wanted some quick money, and they didn't care if they killed somebody. So, you know, they get him to sign it, and Marino's like, hey, Mike, I'm gonna let you drink in my pub for free. Because they just figured like, okay, if he drinks all the time and it's free, like he's gonna kill himself. He'll just, you know, die from alcohol poisoning. So he's like ecstatic, you know, because he's a drunk, and he starts coming there every day. As soon as he wakes up, goes there, drinks half his body weight in booze, passes out, does it again the next day. So he does this for like 3 days straight. And now Marino's like, man, like he's getting expensive. We gotta try to find like a way to actually kill him, because he's not gonna kill himself, it seems like. So first they're like, all right, we'll just get him drunk and we'll start putting like poison in his drinks. So they started off, they were putting like turpentine in there, and then they moved to like, you know, antifreeze, and they just wait till he's like drunk, and then they'd put it in there. They'd switch drinks, and Michael didn't even notice, no clue. Continued to drink every day and didn't have any ill side effects. So they're like, all right, well, we gotta up the ante a little bit. So, you know, they're using poison in his drinks and nothing's helping. So they're like, all right, let's move on to something different. And I think it was Frank was like, oh, I heard about a guy who drank or who ate oysters that were soaked in wood alcohol, which is like poisonous. It's like methanol. And he's like, and the guy died. Let's do that. So they're like, oh, great, let's do it. So they soak a bunch of oysters in wood alcohol, and they give it to Mike, and he slurps down the oysters, licks his fingers. It's delicious. Give me a drink. I gotta wash it down. So they give him the wood alcohol to wash it down, and he drinks it. And then he goes home, and they're like, all right, like that totally killed him. Like he's dead now. We can get this money. And then he comes in the next day perfectly fine. So like, all right, that didn't work. Like, what else can we try? Let me get these eyelashes right. So then they're like, all right, let's feed him something poisonous. So they made a sandwich for him, and they spread like shrapnel, Carpetax, and I think like arsenic or something on the sandwich, and they give it to him, and he eats it, and he's like, that's great, can I have another? So they give him another one, and sure enough, next day he comes in and he's fine again. And they're like, all right, it seems like whatever we feed this guy, like he's not gonna die from it. Like we gotta come up with a new idea. So that's when they decide, like, all right, we're gonna freeze him to death, because Marino had already done this once before. He befriended like an old lady bum, and he took out an insurance policy on her, and then he got her drunk one night, sprayed her down with like water in her bed sheets, and he opened her window and he put her by the window, and then she froze to death. So he's like, all right, let's do something like that for Mike Malloy. So they get him drunk, they wait till he passes out, and they bring him to a park. They dump him in the snow, they strip him down, and they pour like 5 gallons of water on him. And that night it was like negative 15 degrees, it was freezing. So they're like, all right, he's totally gonna die, this is fine. But sure enough, the next morning he walks into the pub and he's like, I'm a little cold, but I'm thirsty, like thirsty as ever. So they give him more drinks, and they're like, all right, we gotta come up with something, this is getting ridiculous. And they were discussing like things that they could do. And I think Frank was like, let's just shoot him. Let's just put a bullet in his head, off him. Get rid of him, finito, done. And they're like, no, let's do something that like maybe is a little smarter, won't get back to us. And I think Green was like a taxi cab driver. So he's like, I'm just gonna hit and run him. Just gonna run him over, and that's good. So they're like, all right. So they get him drunk, get him out in the street. Green gets his taxi up to like 45 miles an hour, smashes into him, and he boom, bumps over the top of the car, rolls over the back, lands on the ground. And then he backs up over him just to make sure he's dead. But before they can check, somebody like came outside or a car drove by or something, scared him off. So they were spooked, so they left. Now, a lot of time goes by, like it was like a couple of weeks, and they're calling around the morgues and stuff trying to see if his body has shown up yet, because they can't collect an insurance policy on him until his body shows up. And at this point, like, you know, they're paying on the insurance policy because you got to pay monthly, and the speakeasy's still not doing well, and they all have their debts, so they're like waiting for this guy to show up dead. And then 3 weeks later, he comes into the bar. He's got like some broken bones and stuff, but he's as thirsty as ever. And now they're like pissed, they're livid, like they're not even hiding it anymore. They got to kill this guy. So they get him liquored up again. They strap like a hose to his mouth, and they get him with carbon monoxide poisoning from like the gas from a car. So after he's like strapped to the thing for like an hour, because he's passed out, he's finally dead. So they get a doctor, they bribe a doctor to do the autopsy and say it was like pneumonia or something. And then they go and collect from the first insurance policy, and they get like $800. So then they go to the next one, and the people are like, well, we need to see the body. And they're like, well, the body's already buried. So now they couldn't even collect from the other 2 insurance policies because they didn't get to check the body themselves. But all 5 of the guys were like blabbermouths. They couldn't keep, you know, the fact that they were trying to kill Mike Malloy a secret. So rumor gets around to the police, and the police bring them all in for questioning, and they all just like instantly turn on each other. They all rat each other out. They're all in trouble. So 4 of the guys ended up getting the electric chair, and then one guy, I think it was either Green or Kreisberg, ended up like getting life in prison. But ever since then, Mike Malloy's been known as, you know, Mike the Durable, and he's like gone down in history because of how long it took to try and kill him. And yeah, so that's my story, and this is my lovely, oh, let me finish, hold on, almost done. Okay, and this is my sketch. I hope you enjoyed my show. If you like it, if you like the picture, comment, subscribe at the bottom, you know, do all that stuff. Thanks.